Sophie, thank you. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Look North. Our top story tonight: the death of Good Samaritan Chris Marriott in Sheffield. A man appears in court charged with his murder. We'll have the latest as a fundraising appeal for his family hits £40,000. Also tonight, on the eve of the longest NHS walkout in history, medics in Yorkshire say they've never been under so much pressure.
Well, we've already got very full hospitals. We've got a lot of vulnerable patients who have been catching respiratory illnesses. We've had a lot of families mixing over Christmas, and we're seeing the effects of that now coming in through our emergency departments.
The North Yorkshire residents left stranded after one of the wettest Decembers on record. And we meet the racehorses who now serve their local community after they've finished competing.
Well, this bad weather seems relentless. It's been another awful day across Yorkshire. However, there are a few glimmers of hope on the horizon. Join me for the week ahead forecast.
Hello, thank you for watching and a Happy New Year to you. First tonight, the death of Good Samaritan Chris Marriott in Sheffield shocked people over the Christmas period. He was struck by a car while giving first aid to a woman who was unconscious in the street. His wife said he devoted much of his life to helping others. Today, 23-year-old Hassan Jangur appeared in court charged with Chris's murder, with a trial date set for the summer. Ollie Constable has the details.
A wonderful husband, dad, brother, uncle and friend to many. Chris Marriott, a father of two from Sheffield, who died as he tried to help a stranger. He was part of a group who were hit by a car as he gave first aid to a woman while out on a family walk last Wednesday. It was a story which shocked the city.
It was very, very sad and also very upsetting, and I couldn't believe it. So people always like walking around and saying hello to each other. All of a sudden, you find people dead, and this is disaster.
Chris devoted much of his life to helping others, with his family saying he always wanted to help and would never turn away from anyone in need. Well, this is College Close here in Pittsmore. You can see some of the flowers and tributes that have been laid here for Chris Marriott leaning against that street sign behind me. He was a good Samaritan who was here trying to help another person who lay injured in the road. It was then when he was struck and killed by a car. Today, 23-year-old Hassan Jangur appeared in court via video link, charged with Chris's murder and the attempted murder of 5 other people. He spoke only to confirm his name and that he understood what the judge has said to him. The defence counsel indicated Mr Jangur would plead not guilty to all counts, including the murder of Chris Marriott. A trial date has been set for the 15th of July here at Sheffield Crown Court. A fundraiser to support Chris's loved ones has reached more than £42,000. They thanked their friends and strangers for the donations, adding they have been overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and support. People with information into what happened that Wednesday afternoon are asked to come forward to police. The woman Chris died helping remains in hospital in a serious condition. Ollie Constable, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
And of course our thoughts are with Chris's family. Next tonight, a senior doctor in Leeds has warned there are serious concerns about pressures on the NHS. It comes on the eve of a 6-day walkout by junior doctors, the longest continuous stretch of industrial action in the history of the NHS. The post-Christmas period is often one of the busiest. Well, the British Medical Association members will walk out from 7 tomorrow until 7 a.m. next Tuesday. The BMA is calling for an increase of 35% to make up for what they call years of below inflation pay rises. Overall, it's estimated that 1.2 million appointments have been affected since strikes began in the NHS a year ago. Here's our health correspondent, Jamie Coulson.
Good morning, Mr Wilson.
At Leeds teaching hospitals, they're bracing themselves for a challenging start to the year. The 6-day junior doctors' strike begins tomorrow, at a time when the NHS is already under significant strain. 79-year-old Geoffrey Wilson had to be transferred to the LGI with sickness from another Yorkshire hospital, as it didn't have the capacity to look after him.
They've got to do what they've got to do, haven't they? I'm not bothered so long as I can get back up on my feet and, well, I won't say walk out of here, I'll shuffle out of here, but
we are now under more pressure than I've ever experienced before. It's a combination of the time of year, the sickness in the population with flu and COVID, plus over the next 6 days we're going to lose the support of many of our junior doctor colleagues.
I don't think we should be sugarcoating the fact that we're very concerned about the enormous number of pressures that are happening at the same time.
Dr. Kelly Cohen is part of the team behind the plans to deal with the challenges.
We've already got very full hospitals. We've got a lot of vulnerable patients who have been catching respiratory illnesses. We've had a lot of families mixing over Christmas, and we're seeing the effects of that now coming in through our emergency departments. What the junior doctor strike means is that we'll have fewer doctors available to look after those patients.
How confident are you that you'll be able to provide safe care during this busy period?
We've done an enormous amount of planning. This is obviously, we're many strikes into the process now, and our processes are very good. We're very confident that we've got safe services. But what we do know is that for people who are presenting with perhaps less unwell, or who are perhaps got milder illnesses, there's going to be very long waits.
Some routine procedures and appointments will also be disrupted, with affected patients contacted by the hospital. What advice would you give to people then who may need help in the coming days?
If you need help, if it's an emergency or you're worried or feel very unwell, then do please continue to ring 999. Do come to hospital if that's what you need to do. If you have minor problems or if you just need advice, then 111 should be your first port of call, because the hospital is very busy and there is likely to be a very long wait.
The strike adds to the challenges faced by the NHS in a winter that still has a long way to run.
Well, Jamie's with me now. Jamie, just give us some context here. How important is the role of a junior doctor to the NHS?
Well, it's very important. They may be called junior doctors, but that actually includes everyone right from those fresh out of medical school right the way up to those just below consultant level with many years of experience. They also account for about half of the hospital doctor workforce. So if you take a proportion of them out of that workforce, then it has a significant impact. Of course, they can be covered by their consultant colleagues, but that has a knock-on effect because they aren't then doing their work, and that in turn leads to backlogs.
We know this is a long-running dispute. Is there any resolution whatsoever in sight?
Not as far as we're aware. Now, junior doctors are calling for pay restoration back to 2008 levels. That would require a 35% uplift. The government has said that that is unaffordable. Junior doctors have asked the government to make a credible offer, but the government has said that they need to end the strike so they can return to the negotiating table. As things stand, they are going out on strike at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
OK, Jamie, well, I know you'll keep us up to date with how that process is. Jamie Coulson, our health correspondent there. Now, if you've been affected by the junior doctors' strike, we'd love to hear from you. Has your operation been cancelled? Please get in touch. You can get in touch by emailing us on look.north@bbc.co.uk, or you can contact us via X or Facebook at BBC Yorkshire. You're watching Tuesday's Look North. Still to come on tonight's programme, a Bradford doctor warns of serious consequences for those who inhale laughing gas. Now, it certainly was a soggy Christmas, wasn't it? And in fact, December as a whole was one of the wettest months on record in Yorkshire. More than 20 flood warnings remain in place across our region tonight. And while residents in Naburn near York are used to flooding, they saw their village go global over the weekend after reports it was completely cut off. Well, it wasn't quite what it seemed, so we sent Kathy Killick to investigate.
Trying to get to Naburn is a bit of a challenge. It's only a few miles from the A64 and A19, but the roads in and out are often subject to flooding. Well, this is the main road through the village, the B1222, and when it's flooded, as now, it blocks access to the village from both the north and the south. It causes a lot of inconvenience and frustration, but the villagers are well used to it, and they have a workaround. Of the 4 routes in, only one, Moor Lane, stays passable. Anne Clark, a resident of 23 years, says locals know what to do, but visitors often come a cropper.
You can waste a lot of time driving 2 or 3 miles down those other 3 routes, and with a flood at the end that you can't get through. So we really need better signage for non-locals and locals alike to know where they can get in and out of the village safely.
I think there's one sign at the main main entrance to the village on the top end, but we have people turning around here all the time because nobody knows.
It's gone global, I think. It's ridiculous. I picked it up from Singapore Times or something like that yesterday. It's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. We're fine.
A mile or so upriver, what should be a campsite is a lake, and submerged in the middle of it, tea by the lock tea rooms. The owner sent us this view from her business. It's really taking a toll.
I've had to cancel so many bookings. It's still destroying. And on a personal level, you know, I'm stuck in here, can't see my family, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day on my own. I've got my dog, my cat, my hens. I'm not quite on my own, but after a few days, it becomes, it's quite tough.
And there seems to be no let-up. The rain's still falling and the water's got nowhere to go. There is some small consolation, though. While the neighbour and lockkeeper Kenny Murray is stranded, he can see otters playing in the floodwater. And swans outside your bedroom window surely provide some pleasure, despite the weather. Cathy Killick, BBC Look North, Naburn.
Well, Paul's with me now. Paul, we know it's been a pretty soggy Christmas, and in fact the lead up to Christmas, just how wet has December been?
Well, it's been absolutely relentless. I mean, you only have to drive around across Yorkshire. These fields are awash with water, and it's been very, very wet. I've got statistics from Sheffield Western Park. Remember, it's a really important station. Data goes back to 1882, and it turns out it's been the 5th wettest December since records began in 1882. We have to go back to 1978 for the last time we had this much rainfall. I thought I'd draw your attention to what's gone on in the last 6 months, because it really has been remarkable. Again, Sheffield Western Park. If you just look at this, of course, December the 5th wettest on record. Autumn was the 2nd wettest on record. October was the wettest on record, and that followed the 2nd wettest July on record. Provisionally, the curator at Sheffield Western Park tells me that 2023 is the wettest year on their data set that goes back 140 years. So it really has been remarkable.
Quite an exceptional year in many ways.
Yeah.
Any sign of drier, better weather to come, so to speak?
Well, this is the really optimistic note. For the first time in months, I'm able to sit here and say to you that it looks like high pressure is going to begin to develop. So once we get rid of all this rain this evening, we're going to slowly turn drier and brighter. It's going to turn colder as well, not overly cold, but we can see at long last an end to this relentless cycle of wet weather.
Paul, thank you very much. Next tonight, a senior doctor in Bradford says at least 4 people a week are ending up in hospital there after inhaling nitrous oxide or laughing gas. Symptoms include not being able to walk, numbness and incontinence. Laughing gas became illegal as a recreational drug nearly 2 months ago. But people who do end up needing help after using it are being urged to be honest with doctors. More now from Charles Heslett.
A young man inhales laughing gas on a West Yorkshire street in broad daylight. The so-called party drug, which is now illegal, has become increasingly popular across the country. Empty nitrous oxide canisters are a common sight by the roadside, in parks or at music festivals. But the drastic health implications of abusing it are only starting to emerge. These include problems with walking, numbness in hands and feet, incontinence and even psychosis. Dr Sam Khan is an acute medicine consultant at Bradford Teaching Hospitals.
We must have been getting at least 10 or 12 a week to the ED presenting with unexplained neurological symptoms, which prompted the team to produce a new protocol, new pathway to try and identify these patients quicker. But now on average we're seeing probably about 3 or 4 a week.
The gas is used legally in catering for things like whipped cream and in medicine for pain relief. But on November the 8th it was made illegal to possess it for recreational use. And the penalty for illegally supplying it was also increased from 7 to 14 years in jail. Detective Superintendent Stephen Greenbank is from West Yorkshire Police.
It's now a Class C drug, and following that we have had 15 arrests throughout the force for supply and for possession of nitrous oxide. So we are seeing issues across the county which officers are dealing with at this time.
Dr Khan says one teenage boy had to be carried into hospital by his parents as he could no longer walk.
I think at one point, during 2022-23, we were seeing that many that we had to create a whole new pathway for these patients, because we were admitting them to have loads of investigations, and actually as soon as you identify it's nitrous oxide, there is actually quite a simple management plan for these patients, instead of bringing them in, using up hospital bed days for them to have all sorts of scans and things done, when actually you don't need a scan. If they've got mild symptoms, you just need to tell them, stop using it.
An issue he's come up against in Bradford is a reluctance from patients to admit that they're even using the drug. He has a simple message for anyone who is.
If you don't stop using the nitrous oxide, you're not going to see any improvement. If anything, you're going to end up becoming paraplegic, incontinent and psychotic, because that's the worst case scenario.
Dr. Sam Kine ending that report by Charles Heslett. OK, let's get some of the day's other news then. A rugby league player who says he's grateful to still be here after having a heart attack last week. Sheffield Eagles player Quentin Lalutago says it happened last Thursday after training session at his club. He says the former Samoa international has received excellent medical care and is now on the road to recovery. Now, did you see the new year in with a bang? Well, one Yorkshire MP is campaigning for quieter fireworks in 2024. Judith Cummins, the Labour MP for Bradford South, wants to reduce noise limits of fireworks from 120 decibels to 90 or lower. She claims the misuse of fireworks is a round-the-clock problem across Bradford. The issue is due to be considered by the Home Secretary.
It is an issue. It is an issue for lots of people who don't get a good night's sleep, get constantly disturbed. Every evening they go to bed and every evening there's fireworks. It's not as though it's just Christmas time and religious festivals. It is an all year round blight on their lives, and it's affecting the quality of their lives, and it's not fair, and it is easily solvable by restricting the noise levels on fireworks sold in shops.
And some good news to start the new year for one woman in Birstall who has received compensation after living with mould for 7 years. You may remember we featured Janice Dawson's and her husband's battle with damp and mould over the last couple of years. Well, now that work that was promised has started, and the landlord has apologised for their handling of the residents' concerns. Now, we've all heard of food banks and perhaps clothes banks too, but donating or collecting large pieces of furniture can be extremely tricky. In Sheffield, St Vincent's send vans out into the community to provide a valuable furniture delivery service. They want to make sure people who don't have the basics, like a mattress to sleep on, are taken care of. Hannah Gray, SB to see how the project works.
Furniture poverty is probably a little bit of an unknown poverty, but it's very, very important.
Tracy takes in items that people are throwing away, knowing they could be treasured by others. She works at the furniture project at St Vincent's in Sheffield and says vulnerable people are desperate for items like dining tables and beds.
People are coming into this country as new arrivals, people that have lived here for ages and are moving into new tenancies because they're fleeing domestic violence, or elderly people that are coming out of hospital into empty flats. We need everything that we can to possibly give them.
Today, the team are off to pick up a mattress from one house that no longer wants it. They'll then deliver it to someone who does, just a few streets away.
Hello, St Vincent's Furniture Project. Hello there. How are you doing?
No, we can't be lifting heavy items about, and it's a useful service. Congratulations to them for finding people that it can be used for, rather than it go to waste, and we can give it and other people can receive it that need it.
Thank you very much. To be fair, I've always thought myself as Robin Hood when I'm out on the van, because that's literally what we do, innit? We take things from people who have things and give it to those who don't have things.
Next, Joe takes Eric's mattress over to Alex's house. Alex has lived in this Sheffield building for 14 years. In the past few months, though, he discovered bed bugs. All of his furniture had to go. Now he has this new set of basic items to help him rebuild his home.
Everybody, thank you very much for it. Cheers. Good blessing.
Moving furniture is a heavy and challenging job. You can see why people are more likely to donate a tin of beans or bag of clothes. But for many Sheffield residents, this furniture project is life-changing. Hannah Gray, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Ice hockey, Sheffield Steelers went 8 points clear at the top of the Elite League with a win over Manchester Storm last night. Mitchell Balmas scored twice for the Steelers as they won it by 4-1. They've got a busy week ahead as well, with trips to Cardiff and Glasgow before playing Glasgow again at home on Saturday. And that is all the sport from me, Phil, but I know you've got some racehorses to tell us about as well.
Yes, thanks, Dave. Yeah, we'll stay on the sport of kings to a certain extent, because a couple from Yorkshire who've been rehoming retired and injured racehorses say the animals can have a meaningful life after they've finished competing. Pam and Kevin Atkinson run a charity called New Beginnings near York. They take horses that others find too challenging and retrain them for a variety of purposes, as Olivia Richwald now reports.
Good boy. I just love horses. I love thoroughbreds in particular. They're just so intelligent, they're just so astute, they're just so aware, they're so sensitive. They're just so willing to learn, and once they trust you, you can build a really strong relationship with them.
This is New Beginnings, a home for racehorses at the end of their careers. The animals come here to learn new skills before they've found new homes.
They've finished their racing career, they've been an athlete at the top of the game, they're racing fit. So when they're no longer a racehorse, they're just a horse that used to race, then they need to learn to slow down a little bit and to use the body differently and to learn new skills.
We do specialise in quirky, difficult horses. If a horse is, when it finishes racing, straightforward, there's plenty of places that can take that horse and retrain it. But if it's quirky and it's difficult, then you need the expertise to be able to turn that horse around and give it the time and space that it needs to adapt to a new life.
Walk on. In 14 years, New Beginnings have helped hundreds of former racehorses find new homes. First, they go back to basics, then slowly build from there. Different horses are suited to different roles. This is Remy. He was a successful high-speed sprinting horse who won big bucks for his owners. Now he's an ambassador, and the duties he carries out include visiting hospices.
And when you see him with a patient who's at the end of life, and the pleasure that he can give somebody at that stage in their life, I mean, it's priceless. He proves the versatility of racehorses and what they can do when they've had the opportunity to come down from one job to do the next. He's a perfect example of what... He's an exceptional example, but he's also a perfect example.
Remy has made it to the final of a prestigious national competition to find the horse who's had the most significant community impact. The charity also has high hopes for this very special grey. It's Burrow 7, named after Rob Burrow, and now retired from racing after an injury.
Do you like riding this one?
Yeah, absolutely. He's real calm and he's a gentleman.
Olivia Richwald, BBC Look North, New York.
Great to see him having another life, isn't it? If you want to vote for Remy, by the way, just search online for the Jockey Club ROR Horse of the Year competition. OK, time to turn to the weather, and it's rained pretty much all day today. Is this the aftermath of Storm Henk?
We're in the middle of it. We're not getting the strong winds, but it is associated. The rainfall is associated with that. And, you know, we talked earlier in the programme about how wet it's been. I've got some fantastic video of the Derwent Dam. If we can just have a look at the overspill, you can see the water cascading over the side. What a transformation. You remember 2 years ago we had hosepipe bans and whatever else, but just goes to show how wet it's been. Remember, it's the 5th wettest December on record. We've had the 2nd wettest autumn, the wettest October. It's going on and on and on, but there is a glimmer of hope. There's New Year's Day, a little bit of positiveness. That's the beach in Scarborough. It was a lovely day. Lots of people celebrating New Year's Day, and it's also been very mild. The 2nd warmest year on record, 2023. The daffodils are already out in the Vale of York. Send the pictures to me. The addresses are behind me there. And if you want to see a look at the statistics from Sheffield, I've put them on my Twitter feed, or X feed. That's what we're supposed to say these days. Let's have a look then at what's going on over the next few days. The headline is a better one, but we have got a warning in place till 9 o'clock this evening for further heavy rain at times. Now, take a look at this. Two things happening. Watch the yellows squeezed out by the blues, and watch low pressure eventually taken over by high pressure. So a big change on the way to drier and colder weather. Not exceptionally cold, but certainly a change compared with December. And it does look like certainly the next couple of weeks will be a lot drier and colder than what we've had in December. So big changes on the way, but we have to get rid of this area of rain. It's chucking it down really across much of Yorkshire at the moment. some heavy bursts of rain in there, but the back edge comes across and it clears the coast around midnight, followed by clear spells and scattered showers. We'll see lowest temperatures around 5 or 6 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow's high water times then in Scarborough 8:48, Bridlington at 9:15. So generally a better day, but as you can see, there'll be a further scattering of showers. 1 or 2, especially in the west, could be fairly heavy, drifting in from the Irish Sea. I think the best of the dry, brighter conditions always further east. Temperatures still above average at around about 8 or 9 degrees. 1 or 2 showers possible on Thursday, but here's the trend to drier and colder weather with some frost and patchy fog by the weekend. That's the forecast.
After all this rain, a drier spell will be something of a novelty, won't it?
Can't wait.
I could put the brolly away at long last. That's as far as we go for now. I shall be back with a late bulletin just after 10:30. But from Paul and myself and the rest of the team, enjoy your Tuesday evening. Good night.